It was 2 nights before Christmas and the city came out to play. Thousands gathered at the Mary Ellen Hotel for the start of the Christmas pilgrimage. Some travelled by sleigh, but most preferred to stumble. The sea of red hats signified Santa's importance on the big day, and other Christmas characters were also out for a good night. Although most of the night was enjoyed in good spirits, ambulance crews were forced to attend 26 alcohol-related assaults, most believed to be associated with the pub crawl.
G'day, how you going? I'm Santa Claus. Ho, 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 ho! What you just saw was a news report on Newcastle's 1994 Santa Claus Pub Crawl, the same first year as Atlanta, San Francisco and Wollongong. The reporter, Richard O'Leary, said thousands were in attendance, though the Newcastle Herald said police estimated the crowd at 1,500. Just remember, this was only the first year of the Wollongong event with only 16 Santas, and the Atlanta event with just a handful of friends. But let me take you back to the beginning. I was told in 1989 it was the third year of the event. I find people often get confused when people say things like the third year and think that means 3 years ago. But 3 years before 1989 would have been 1986. In reality, if 1989 is the third year, that makes 1988 the second year, meaning 1987 is the first year. I think that's how Atlanta got confused twice. I remember once correcting someone who made a similar error. Once he realised I was right, he called me a pedantic prick. I wasn't offended though, because I realised he was right. I was told in 1989 that it was started by a group of friends from the BHP. This was the local steel-making factory that was later closed down in 1999. Though in 1997, Jane Worthington in the Newcastle Herald reported that it was an original inspiration by a group of university students, BHP workers, doctors and teachers. In 1992, Paul Garwood's article in the Newcastle Herald stated, "The idea for a Santa pub crawl arose over a quiet beer among 6 friends 6 years ago who thought such a concept sounded like a lot of fun." The same article also said it was the 6th annual Santa's Pub Crawl by Candlelight, the name at the time. This demonstrates my point that people get 6 years ago and the 6th year confused. It's so frustrating. Sorry, I'm being a pedantic prick again. To continue, this article states 40 Santas made up the first event, with the originators being called the 6 White Boomers. The article identified one of the 6 White Boomers as Joe McCarthy, 28, from New Lambton. That would make him 54 now, same age as me. So Joe and the other originators, if you're watching, thanks for giving Newcastle and the world a fun idea. But I bet from what we now know about Rolf Harris and his extra leg, you regret calling yourselves the 6 White Boomers. But perhaps a greater embarrassment would be holding a Rolf Harris Australia Day party in King Edward Park. But I promise I won't tell anyone. Oops. Jane Worthington's 1997 article also describes Joe's version of the original intent of the Santa's Pub Crawl by Candlelight. That being, to sing a few carols, give out lollies to the kids along the way, and have a few beers with friends in between. Little kids were coming out of their homes saying, "There's Santa, and there's another Santa." The people were there for all the best of reasons, still having a drink, but in a community-minded manner. A 1996 report by Amy Delore in the Newcastle Herald said at the first Santa Claus Pub Crawl, all the Santas were in full costume, and there was a hastily arranged footpath combo that sang Christmas carols to a bemused but appreciative audience of diners at a restaurant in the Junction. Other Santas wandered the aisles of Coles, similarly serenading late-night shoppers. Now, word of mouth spread the event, and it generally became known in Newcastle that each year on the last working Friday before Christmas, Santas would meet up by 6:30 p.m. at the Virgin Mary Ellen Hotel to kick off the Santa Claus Pub Crawl. The Santas would then move on to the South Pole Club, aka South Newcastle Leagues Club, then the Bethlehem Inn, aka Burwood Inn, followed by the Prince of Peace Pub, aka the Prince of Wales Hotel, and finally the Jerusalem Tavern, aka the Junction Hotel. In the early years, it grew slowly, but by 1992, it was estimated there were 700 participants, and at its peak in 1996, just 4 years later, the estimated numbers ranged from 6 to 8,000. It had become a world-famous pub crawl with attendees from all over the world. It was publicised as a must-see event in European and UK backpacker magazines. By this time, it was out of control, and the powers that be decided to kill it off. I'll discuss this more after my next video, but in 1997 it was estimated there were only about 300 attendees, with possibly still a handful in 1998. Anyway, watch out for my next video where I'll give my personal recollections of the Newcastle Santa Claus Pub Crawl in 1989. So watch out for it. Some of the photos you have been seeing in the background are ones I found in the Newcastle Herald. Perhaps you're in them. If so, let me know in the comments below. And remember, if you like what you see, make sure you subscribe and keep watching for new videos. And if you really love them, then support me to make more with as little as $1 a month at Patreon. Have a good one and see you around like a ristle.